Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Almost every team in the association has played at this point. The final two, the 76ers and the Bucks, are playing tonight. So we've gotten a look at just about everybody. Some really exciting stuff. Malik Monk? How about Malik Dunk? Good Lord, we may have just seen the Dunk of the Year candidate on opening night. But we've got tons to talk about today. We've got some more James Harden news because, of course, we also have strange stuff happening with the Chicago Bulls, alarming things to say the least. We'll dive into all of it. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, I guess let's just start with this. The Victor Wembanyama debut, underwhelming, about what you expected. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it was a lot closer to what I expected. It's funny. I saw, I think it was Josh Eberly posted something like, "What's your expected Wembanyama line tonight?" And of course, you had the people who said things like 50 points and 25 rebounds, and like Wilt Chamberlain-esque. I always want to say like crazy things that would never happen, and I'm like, well, actually, Wilt Chamberlain did that stuff, so I guess it could in theory, but like. I saw a lot more of like 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks, like a lot of those. And I was like, that's really like what people are expecting. Like that felt a little ambitious with that. Yeah. So for me, I wanted to see, did the game look too fast for him? Did it look too physical for him? Never looked too physical. A couple times it looked a little fast for him, maybe. He is so much all arms and legs that like he's gonna pick up reach-in fouls just because it might look weird, and he can reach in places where like guys wouldn't even try other guys. So that's it too. But I thought in general, pretty good debut. Looked pretty good. We just got to tone down the fouling a little bit, and that'll keep him on the floor a little bit more. That the pull-up three in transition, I could tell Pop wasn't a huge super big fan of that one fairly early on in the game. Like that was, but I think that was probably just more his juice was flowing and he wanted to kind of do some stuff. So all around. I mean, that block on that Kyrie elbow pull up like right away in the game. And then Kyrie was like, what? Like who? Nobody blocks this shot. Like it was that was something. And he's going to be a special player.
Yeah, I mean the you could hear the arena just buzzing every time he touched the ball, and frankly, I thought the Spurs looked pretty good. Like they played with energy. They were right there. I thought they were going to beat the Mavs at one point, but the Mavs were able to pull away. But
I think on that point there too, that was the difference between the Mavs have Luka and Kyrie and a bunch of vets going against a bunch of kids. Like they knew how to close out the game, and the Spurs didn't. Like that's all that was. And the Spurs they'll learn. They'll figure that out.
So, Keith, this was what stood out to me. And by the way, my wife was watching the game with me, and she said, I said, look at this guy's, she doesn't know anything about Wembanyama.
Sure.
Right? She hasn't been following at all. And I said, look at this guy that's out there. And she's like, why is he so much bigger than everybody else? Like, what is it? It looks like, a high school junior playing against third graders, right? In terms of size, it's absolutely ridiculous. But the thing that stands out to me the most is the plays where I'm expecting a highlight reel block. Like typically you see a guy come in at the rim and they're going to challenge, and Anthony Davis or Brook Lopez or some of the other, the big time shot blockers in the NBA, even, Joel Embiid, some of these guys. You see somebody going up to challenge them and you're getting ready. Like, oh, either this is going to be a ferocious dunk or just an insane block. I'm getting that kind of anticipation when he's closing out to the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Like I'm expecting him to get a hand, and he almost does so many times that he's going to get a few of them. But I'll tell you what, it is spooky season. So I don't know if you saw this going around. Tim Duncan's NBA debut, 15 points, 6 for 9 shooting, 2 assists. Victor Wembanyama's NBA debut, 15 points, 6 for 9 shooting, 2 assists.
That's crazy.
That is.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It is the season.
Oh God, Tim Duncan debuted 26 years ago. Like now, that's my takeaway.
Now you feel old.
I am old. Like I very clearly remember that entire like year of the Celtics season was like they're gonna get 2 top picks. They're gonna come away. At the time, it was Tim Duncan and Keith Van Horn. Tim Duncan, Keith Van Horn. That's who they're gonna get. And they came away with Chauncey Billups and Ron Mercer. And So be it. Rick Pitino's grand plan failed before we were even through one NBA draft lottery.
I think back to those years, and it doesn't seem like that long ago. Because, like you said, I remember stuff vividly from back then. Remember, Glenn Rice joining the Lakers, and is this the right dude? Should they really give up Eddie Jones and all that? And I'm like, that doesn't feel all that long ago. And then I remember refreshing text-only stories on my BlackBerry. There was no pictures or anything. It's just text on there, and the little wheel on the side they had for a little bit, and the trackball and all that. I'm like, okay, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was telling someone the other day, like, because they were like, it's, we both work with some people who they've never known the internet. They've never not known like Twitter, right? So for them, it's like, how did you guys get news before Twitter? And it's like, man, like I remember how we got news before the internet. It was like turn on the nightly newscast or read about it in the paper the next day if it happened early enough before the paper went to print the night before. Like it was, like a whole thing then. But
sure.
I was talking about, I remember one year, we happened to have a day off of school on the NBA trade deadline day. And I remember legitimately sitting in the old AOL NBA basketball chat room, and it was like all the diehards would sit in there. It was really no different than Twitter is now, where like we all sit there and chat on Twitter and
refresh
stuff.
and
we would sit there and everybody was talking, and it was literally a bunch of people saying our radio just had this guy on. It was like back then, like the big NBA insider was Peter Vesey. And it was like Peter Vesey was just on the radio here in Seattle because they still had a team talking about how they're looking at maybe trading for, I want to say it was that year, Dominique Wilkins was like who they were talking about. Like I want to say it was the year Wilkins might have gotten traded to the Clippers, if I remember right. And it might be a little off on my memory with that because it was a while ago. But I very clearly remember just sitting in there, and it was like a bunch of people like reporting, like because there was no Woj. There was none of that stuff. I mean, Woj existed. Obviously, he was a real person and alive, but I think he was probably in college then. So like, but he certainly wasn't. There was no Twitter where it was like, let me share what we're hearing this way. And it was kind of crazy. And like in Sports Center, like get taped like 3 times a day. There was like one, in the early evening, one, later evening, and then one like late one, and that super
just
late
replay
one,
it.
Just ran until the early evening one, started running. So you'd sit there and watch the same thing, for at least I did for hours on end. So
the good old days, old days. Absolutely. That was a different time. It was a different time. Refreshing news on ESPN's front page.
Yes,
for the stuff to pop up there. Now it's
do you remember when it was like we're gonna do a live blog, and like it was like the way like, man, I probably refreshed that thing so many times. I was probably the one like, why is this whole thing now crashed? Because like I was just sitting there hitting what was it, F5 on the keyboard back then? I think.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of stuff that wouldn't have maybe made its way out years ago, the Bulls had a players only meeting already. Well, maybe it would have, because they mentioned it to the media, so it would have gotten into the media reports. But
and to be clear, Billy Donovan mentioned it to the media first out of anybody.
Exactly. So this indeed, my crude transition didn't work out because this still would have made it out because it was mentioned directly to the media. But the Thunder beat up on the Bulls. The Thunder, who is everybody's team we need to watch this year, beat the Bulls 124-104. This is game 1, though, Keith. And the Bulls are having a players only meeting where, according to Billy Donovan, he walked into the locker room and saw that the conversation was already kind of heated and said, hey, do you guys want me to let you work this out on your own and leave? And they said, yes. A players only meeting night 1. I look, the tale, the way that it's being told could be making it into a bigger deal than what it really is. That's certainly possible, but that's also not a great sign to be having to clear the air on night 1.
Yeah, definitely not how you want to start, right? And you don't want to start by getting blown out at home, of course, either.
Correct.
So there's that component of it. And I think the whole heated conversation and the coach stepping away is a more common thing than people maybe realize. Like sometimes the coaches like, I'm going to give them a little bit of space. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the true, dreaded players only meeting, which have one of those ever actually led to anything good? Like maybe momentarily it does, but like, I mean, I don't know. There's no way to
in the bubble. They resumed playing with a giant players only meeting.
True.
We got to that, and we saw the guys work through a lot of stuff. And
that was a very different,
but that's a
thing,
very unique.
That was that was not a, hey man, you blew this coverage in the third quarter and I'm angry at you. That was real world stuff creeping in there. So
correct.
My guess is this will be one of those things we're going to forget about this, or this is going to be one of those things where a month, 2 months from now, we're going to be like, remember how they had a players only meeting on the opening night? And then we're going to be like, well, this all was predictably falling apart. I think the challenges, the Bulls are, I wonder if there's some reality of this is who we are now. Like we're this very much a middle of the pack team that is going to be fighting to be a play-in team. And there's a lot of proud veterans on that team that are probably thinking this is not where I want to be. And that leads to the heated moments and all those kind of things. And just to be clear too, Billy Donovan clarified, like guys weren't screaming at each other. It was just sounds like very intense. Vucevic said, hey, we had to air some of this stuff out. And maybe some of the stuff was lingering because they didn't make massive roster changes in Chicago. So maybe there is some stuff that was, carried over from last year, where maybe somebody was like, hey man, you blew that pick and roll coverage every time last year too. And part of the reason I'm using blown pick and roll coverages, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just carved them up and did whatever he wanted in pick and roll all night long. So
he's very good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Obviously, right there. There's the big news break of this whole thing. SGA, good.
SGA. Somebody asked me, Keith. I just gotta say, somebody sent this to me on X, as it were. Said, "Is there any way the Lakers could trade for SGA?" I just responded, "No."
Yeah.
No, they are not. He is so good. Like I think he hasn't gotten to that like household name status just yet, but he's getting there. He will get there.
I had somebody. There was Celtics fans, some of them were a little frustrated with Jaylen Brown's play last night. He was having not the best game. He had just a rough night. And, it'll happen. It just sucks that it happened on opening night for him. But there was a couple people like, is there any way we could package him with picks for SGA? And it's like, really? Like we're there? Like after one bad night? Like it's just, but that more spoke to, I'll choose to emphasize the positive of SGA is awesome. And of course, 29 other teams would love to have him. And guess what? You're not getting him. So let's all move on because the Thunder love him probably more than any of the other 29 teams do. And the Thunder are not exactly a bad team that needs to be selling off their good players for assets. They're headed in a direction where he will be a very big part of whatever is next.
You know what's kind of funny is, and I know that there's some parallels, between stocks and sports, but in the stock market, the what you always hear, right? Oh, I mean, forever has been buy low, sell high. In the sports world, like from the fan perspective, it's the opposite. When a player struggles, everybody is like, trade this guy, trade this guy, trade this guy. And they want to trade for the guy that just had a great blow up performance because there's the real world application of, hey, we want to win games right now and all that. So, huge differentiators, and not to mention the fact that these are players and all of that. But it's just funny the way as soon as a player is struggling, get rid of him and get this guy that's clearly way better. That's kind of difficult to do.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is when we get the, this guy stinks. We should trade him for Superstar X.
For Superstar, yep.
Okay, sure. Why not? Because he stinks. So I'm sure other teams are lining up to give up their.
Can you imagine that conversation? Right? Hey, other general manager.
Yeah.
We really don't like this guy. He is terrible. Can you send us your best player for him?
Yes. Yeah. He is rotten to the core. And he kicks puppies. Like,
God.
Send us your superstar with draft picks. Yeah. It's just, but it's, and some of it, trust me, I get it. Some of it is like, it's in jest, it's in fun. And,
yes,
people like to say outlandish things, but yeah, it's it's that one never ceases to get me though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The Pacers are going to be extending Rick Carlisle, who he's well respected around the league, but I've long thought he's a very, very good coach. Like probably a little bit like he's gotten some credit over the years. It's not like he's just totally flown under the radar or anything, but I think he's a better coach than he quite gets credit for, if that makes sense. So good to see the Pacers, who are a team that are going to be on the rise here this season. I expected them to be, though. Good to see them committing to him moving forward.
Yeah, it was funny because in that whole overreaction to one night kind of stuff said in jest, there was some stuff out there as far as like because they had one blowout win over the Wizards, and it's like that's not why. Like clearly this was in the works,
right?
And
right.
already happening, and I think it's gone somewhat forgotten. He has a history with the Pacers. He was their coach for 4 years prior to this run. They would have been a much better team last year had they not right around the trade deadline, maybe even a little bit earlier than that, kind of said, let's not chase the play in. Let's make sure we're not rushing guys back from injuries. Really, they prioritize ping pong balls, and they worked out. We'll see. We don't know what Jarris Walker will become for them, but they ended up with a high draft pick. So I think this is a good move. Build a little continuity. Your front office has obviously been there a long time. Will probably continue to be there a long time. Get keep your coach around. You've got a lot of your young players are signed for the next several years too. So I like the idea. Let's grow this group together. And what a fun game that was for them. I don't know how fun it was for the Wizards last year. And start your fantasy guys against Washington, because they're probably going to go bananas against them. They're not so good.
The Wizards, I think, are in for a lot of not so fun games this season. But I mean, you mentioned Jarris Walker. He was 0 for 5. That's not ideal. Only played 6 minutes though. So
yeah, it was all garbage time for him.
But Bruce Brown, I mean, despite what Calvin Booth has to say about him, 8 for 11 and 6 for 8 from 3 for 24 points in his Pacers debut. That's not too shabby. Not too shabby
stuff. I'll take it. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
That was I want to say I think it was Nate Duncan or Danny LaRue. One of the two of them looked it up. His career high and made threes prior was 4. So he topped his career high in threes by 2 in this game. So yeah, he played great. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton is awesome. Andrew Nembhard looked really good off the bench too. He had a double with points and assists. Obi Toppin, there'll be games where they're going to need more from Obi Toppin, but he did his thing, just filling the lane, running the floor, being big like that. They're a team, when I look at it, that's a roster where I'm like, I like that guy. I like that guy. I like that guy. But more importantly, they all just kind of fit together where it's like, man, it just now it makes sense. Where last year I liked a lot of the guys, but I was like, I don't know about this like 4 guards around Turner stuff. And now they make that much more sense. And the guys who were maybe playing a role ahead of where they should have been have slotted down into a slightly lesser role, which I think fits them even better. And, I'm excited for what the Pacers team can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this can be a team that can really do some things this season. At least, I'm not expecting them to be a top tier team or anything like that. Obviously, what I'm expecting is that they'll be solid. And I think they're the kind of team that on any given night can really give you a run and make things difficult. I also think that they're going to be a lot of fun for Pacers fans. Again, this is a team that's on the rise, and that in and of itself can be really exciting. So yeah, I mean, good things here moving forward for the Pacers. And they're not trading Miles Turner, Lakers fans. They're not trading Miles. I still get those questions. They're not trading Miles Turner.
Buddy Hield, yes. There could be a Buddy Hield trade, but that one could also be too. We could find ourselves in January and all of a sudden, hey, Buddy Hield and the Pacers did come to an agreement on an extension. Because it doesn't seem to be like animosity there, right? It seems to be Buddy Hield's like, okay, I would like to be somewhere where they will extend me. So if we can find that, let's go. But otherwise, like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to show up. I'm going to play, and from the Pacers side, I think they're like, all right, we we enjoy having you, and if we can find agreement, then perfect. If we can't, we'd like to keep you here, but yeah, just keep doing your thing. And he played well last night too. He's reverting back to a bench role, which I think on a very good team, that's what Buddy Hield should be, like a high volume sixth man who just is like comes in, and he's the kind of guy who his shooting is enough where he could truly swing a game. I know my oft used examples are Lou Williams and Jamal Crawford. Buddy Hield could be that guy.
Sure.
Where it's come in, completely swing games and, win you a game where you just didn't have anything going otherwise.
Keith, I hope you don't mind here, but I'm going to share the picture you sent me of you watching the games last night, because I got to ask.
That's there it is.
There it is. So, because this is, Keith, you're watching all of these games, and the Pacers game is right there in the corner. For podcast listeners, Keith sent me his TV screen. He has 6 games on at the same time. See, I watch NFL Red Zone, like that'll just be on all day on Sunday, and they do a really good job of jumping around. I've got like the NFL package where I can have like 4 games on at a time, and I can manage that. I have the hardest time with basketball, though, being able to actually watch all the games, because football, it's you have a play, then you stop, you play, then you stop, play, right? And so it's easier to just focus on one screen. They're in action. This game's just sitting around right now, and you kind of jump back and forth. How do you absorb all of this? Are you just like Neo in the Matrix or something like that? Like how do you do this?
So, and if anybody podcast listeners, I also tweeted this out as well too.
Oh, you
so
did?
if you
Okay.
want to go to my Twitter timeline, you can see it. Yeah, it's so there's a couple things I've always been maybe my single best skill is I can multitask really, really well. My wife and daughter would tell you otherwise. But if it's on things I am super focused on, I can do multiple things at once. The thing with this is this is more of a way I like this on the League Pass nights, because it's a way to just kind of keep tabs on a bunch of games. There's also a version that goes to eight games is the most they'll ever show at once. Those ones is I like it better when it's 6, or sometimes it's only 4, because when it's 8, the screens just get a little too small. Right. But when this really is helpful is in like the 4th quarter, because then you could kind of, and I don't know if you could see it in the image, there's like a blue box around the Houston Orlando. That's the game that the sound is on, and you can float the sound between the ones. So definitely much easier and works better when the football one, because the football one too, you can be like, oh, what's going on in the left corner? Like a guy's on a breakaway. And you can kind of quickly zip over to that with this. But what I like is when it's a bunch of close games late, if it's like, all right, this one's only get 10 seconds left, with the way it's set up on DirecTV, you just hit the button and then it takes you right to that channel too, which is really nice. So it's my favorite thing in the world. I love it so much. Like it's great. And like last night, Celtics Knicks, so I had that on ESPN, and whenever it would go to break, this was the channel I flipped to, was the Game Mix channel, or NBA Mix, I don't know, whatever they call it. But yeah,
I may give this a shot, but I think I'd have a tough time being able to keep up with all of it at the same time. But that is a beautiful thing. Let me tell you that. That's it. That is a sight to behold. That's for sure.
It's how I like give myself a slice of the sports books in Vegas, like what it's like to be in like a Buffalo Wild Wings with everything on all at once. So yeah, I love it. The really cool thing is DirecTV has a version of it during March Madness that they do.
Oh,
too,
nice.
Which is really, then it's like because it's only ever 4 at a time, and that's really, really fun.
What by the way, DirecTV, not a sponsor, but should be a sponsor. But this is the next step to this, Keith, and you'll have to see if your wife will eventually let you do this. It's a bunch of full-size TVs.
Yes.
On the wall. That way you can just have them all going at once, and you got the full-size. You just have a wall, a basketball wall, a basket wall. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. The basketball. Yeah. I'm in on that. Trademark. That's trademark property. NBA front office show. No one can use that.
That's right. All you have to do is say it. That's just like declaring bankruptcy. All you got to do is say it out loud.
That's it. Yep. we actually, when we moved into our house, and we made this the room that is now, and now it is just our office. It was our guest room / office. Now that we both work from home, it is our shared office. We actually considered like putting 2 TVs. And it was actually the guy who came to mount the first TV, because if I tried to mount a TV, like it'd end up with a giant hole in the wall and a broken TV. So like I am very happy to pay someone with the skills to do that. So when the guy came in, I was like, "What do you think about this idea?" And he's like, "In this room?" He's like, "No, it's too small." He's like, you would," and I'm like, "Dude, you're not supposed to say that, man. You're kidding me." And he's like, "Now we have a fairly deep family room, I guess is the best way to describe it." He's like, because he also hung that TV too. He's like, "Yeah, you could do that out here." And my wife was like, "Absolutely not." No. She was like, "That is not going to be a thing."
No.
Yeah. I think she in the real world would like, they have those new TVs, and maybe they're not so new, but the ones that they look like picture frames, and when they like are off, they display like it looks like a framed picture. I think she would ideally like something like that, where it's like it's not even a TV when it's a TV. Whereas me, I'm like, I give me like
all
12
the TVs,
big screens right next to each other, and let's go. Like,
that would be awesome.
I also too, I'm like, let's have cords hanging down and dangling. That stuff doesn't bother me. And she's like, "No, hide the cords." Like, yeah, I don't know. That's the difference.
Wall.
So yes, yep,
Yeah,
that's a thing too.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's get back to well, we are, I believe at this point, Keith, we are contractually obligated. Let's talk about James Harden. The Clippers pause the James Harden trade talks now that their season started. Not a surprise. If I'm the Clippers, I'd want to be able to tell the players and everybody, "Nope, we're not doing this. We're not talking trade. Go play the game," right? And just be able to try to focus on that. But what came out was, this was via Woj, was that the Clippers are confident that they are the only offer out there, and they don't want to bid against themselves. Obviously, the closer we get to the trade deadline, which is still a ways away, coming up in February, but the closer we get to that, the more pressure there is on the 76ers to make a move so that you don't just lose James Harden for nothing next summer. So that's something just to keep an eye on. Again, we are ways away from that, but something to keep an eye on. But the Clippers are saying, "Look, we know you don't have any other real offers, so we're not going to bet against ourselves and add anything to this trade that we don't want to. And so let's see how the season plays out and who's under pressure and who breaks first."
Yeah, I fully get it from the Clippers standpoint. I also have been doing this and following this league. Oh, did we get something good?
This is Sleeper that is putting this out. So it's possible I just missed the tweet. It's also possible this tweet is older, but I didn't realize this detail from the 76ers and James Harden thing. Chris Haynes, again, this is via Sleeper that I'm getting this, not via his direct tweet, but said that James Harden was actually denied admission onto the team plane by security.
I know Chris Haynes from Bleacher Report put out a piece just a little while ago, so maybe is that where it came from?
It could be. Maybe it's coming from that. Again, this is quoting Chris Haynes. This is a Sleeper notification that I got. So if that's accurate, I mean, that makes the whole thing a little bit juicier, I suppose.
Yeah.
Aside from just calling him up and saying, "Hey, we're not going to bring you on the trip," him like physically trying to get on the plane and being stopped by security, that takes it to a little bit of a different place there.
Yeah, and that. I mean, it feels kind of unnecessary. Like,
right?
I don't know. Like, that just feels weird to me. I also don't fully. You could have brought him and just made him inactive and not played him. Like, that's entirely the team's, I was gonna say prerogative on that. Like, you can do that if you want. Like, you don't have to. Like, I don't know about the whole barring him from even traveling with the team, unless you had reason to believe he was, was he going to steal Joel Embiid's jersey and like hide it? Like, then he couldn't suit up tonight. Like, what are you so worried about? Like that's like a step too far for me from this. That seems almost like a reaction to, "Hey, you took off for a week and a half. Like, now we're taking back control. We will decide when you go places and where you go and those kind of things." I don't know. Back to the actual trade talks though.
Yeah.
The point I was going to make was, I've been following this league for forever, and we hear things like this sometimes where it's like teams walking away, they're not doing this. And then an injury or a 4-game losing streak happens. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, actually, can we re-engage? So, I don't put a ton of stock in
Yeah.
that, beyond. I think the Clippers are saying, hey, we gotta move on. My guess is this is Ty Lue a little bit telling the front office, like, hey man, can I just coach my roster? Like, I don't want to keep, having plans and not installing
Mm-hmm.
stuff because am I gonna install the sets we want to run when Terrence Mann is our primary ball handler if he's not gonna be here? Like that, those are probably there was probably some pressure from that side, probably from some of the players too. Just
Mm-hmm.
of hey, I just want to go, like season starting. Can we just move on with this? So that's my guess is where some of this is coming from. And it's a negotiating tactic, right? To your point is Clippers, they know they're the only ones, right? So why are we going to keep, what our offers are?
Mm-hmm.
Like, call us back if you're serious about it. Like, we're not going to call you again. You call us when you're ready. Kind of deal on that. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Like, it's not like the phone line has been shut off or something like
Yeah,
that. Like
exactly.
they
You didn't
could,
block the number.
yeah, they could call them. They could be calling them right now. Hey, we changed our minds. Want to make a
Yeah.
trade? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this kind of stuff can restart obviously any
I think
moment.
too, I don't know that we've actually talked about this. I apologize. Is Sam, I think it was Sam Amick of The Athletic reported, which I thought was really good. It might have done it on Alex Kennedy's new show where he kind of goes like brings in guests and it's kind of more like rapid fire. It seems like I think you did it with Alex,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, I was on it.
Like a
Yep.
week or so ago. I think Alex, I think it was Sam Amick said on there, he clarified it is not that Terrence Mann is off the table. It is that the Clippers will not give up Terrence Mann and unprotected picks both.
Mm.
Like they're not going to do that. That's like where they're saying, hey, you can do one
One
or
or the
the
other.
other. Which if it's not Terrence Mann, that means somebody else has to be in there as part of the matching salary. Obviously, Terrence Mann also isn't enough by himself either. So there's going to be other guys, but the Clippers have enough matching salary to make it work numerous different ways and numerous different ways without even getting deep into rotation players.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was worth kind of bringing up here because I don't think we had actually talked about that clarification. And it makes a lot of sense because a lot more people have been like, how is it Terrence Mann that is holding up this deal from getting done?
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's Terrence Mann plus, multiple unprotected picks, yeah, I don't think I'd do that either if I was the Clippers.
That's a good distinction. That's a good distinction to make. That it's not necessarily Terrence Mann. It's the accumulation of all of the stuff. And they're saying, look, you can pick one of these things, but you can't have them all. It's like when you
Well,
take
my
your kid
mom
to
took me to Toys R Us.
exactly. That's why I was just going with that. See, Keith, that's why we do this show together. I was just going to that.
Yep.
I was going to
I'd
say
have
your
like
parents take you to the
15
toy
Ninja
store.
Turtles in my hand or GI Joes,
Yep.
and she'd be
You
like,
can
"You can
have
get
Leonardo
one."
or Donatello,
Yeah,
not both. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
The
Yep. Yep.
Ninja Turtles were the one where I actually won that fight though, and I kind of got my mom there because I'm like, you can't have just one Ninja Turtle. Like they're the Ninja Turtles, and they're
Right.
brothers. Like you're breaking up the family if I don't bring them food.
Play on the
I love the
emotions.
Ninja
You're
Turtles.
breaking up a family. Oh, I went through this cycle where I went through a period where each turtle was my favorite for a little bit. I think I started with like Raphael and then I just kind of progressed and oh, this month it's Michelangelo's my favorite or whatever, but I was huge into Ninja Turtles.
The best. They were
That was
great, man.
that was the thing. By the way, just clarity on the Chris Haynes piece. Apparently officials told Harden, hey, these are the benefits of you not going when they were at practice, but it wasn't like, hey, you can't go. It was more like, hey, these are the benefits of not going. And then Harden showed up at the airport, like ready to get on the plane, and that's when security had been called and told, hey, don't let him on the plane, and they told him he's not allowed to fly, which that's messier than it needs to be. There was obviously
Yeah,
some kind of type of miscommunication there.
yeah. That is weird. I would like to hear a reason from the team on that because
Mm-hmm.
that just I get the idea of we want you to stay here and ramp up if that's the reason
Yes.
they're gonna give, but that doesn't seem like reason why. There's also because I had it up while you were talking. I glanced through it too. There was apparently Harden's. So if anybody doesn't know, each player is assigned an assistant coach who kind of becomes their coach for the season, and they work them out. That's who they'll do like individual film sessions with and all sorts of stuff. And Harden apparently was like, I want to keep working with Rico Hines, who is an assistant coach on the Sixers, who Harden's like, if that's like my guy, like if he's not going to be here, like I'll travel and I'll work out with him in Milwaukee, probably like now-ish or earlier this morning or whatever it was before the game, and that'll be my workout. So there's obviously multiple layers to all of this, and it's all everybody's now playing some games, and it's going to be more games like this played, and probably less games on the court actually played than.
I was going to say everybody's playing games except for James Harden, who literally will not be playing tonight.
Yeah.
Yep. Last thing we've got for today, the NBA officially, we talked about this the other day, but they are going back to the future. NBA All-Star Game is back to the East versus West format, and the Elam ending is no more. It will be regular quarters, 12-minute quarters for the All-Star Game. So we're back to the way it used to be. And, Keith, I talked about this on the show. I said that I wanted them to just settle on something, figure it out. How are you going to get the players to care and settle on something? And I saw Kevin O'Connor made the case that maybe you can't settle on something. And I'm starting to really consider this. Maybe this is just something that every few years you have to switch it up in order to try to keep it from going stale.
I think that's very fair. I don't know. Clearly, the whole draft thing was fun, and I think everybody had fun with it. But there were definitely guys who were like, I don't want to do this because I'm going to be the last pick. And, I always thought Al Horford, I think it was the very first year they did it, gave the best answer, where he's like, oh no, I'm the last All-Star picked. Yeah. I'm still an All-Star. Like he was kind of like, I don't, but he was also deep into his career and I don't think really cared at that point. So
sure.
The drafting was fun. I don't think it juiced it the way the NBA really wanted. And they tried different versions of the draft type thing and all that. So I don't have a problem with this. It was the most fun part of the draft for me was seeing like as a Celtics guy, it was fun when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown went head to head. And they did that for like everybody kind of cleared out and let them play almost one-on-one for like 4 or 5 possessions in a row. That's fun. The Elam ending being gone, I don't really like the Elam ending, but I like it in the All-Star game because the All-Star game, if it can end early, great. Be done with it. Like I don't.
That's why you like it. Get the game over with.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the worst part of All-Star weekend, and I don't know how you fix it. So maybe Kevin's right. Like maybe it is just keep trying new stuff, and if it starts to feel stale, you roll something back out. A lot of people post, just bring the best 24 dudes and play a one-on-one tournament. Like
the players won't do that.
Players would never.
They won't go one-on-one because then people will say, "Oh, this player is better than that player because he beat him."
Exactly. That's why, and it's also not. It's not exactly fair to some of the guys because it's like, hey, I'm actually really good in 5-on-5, but one-on-one, like, trying to guard at player X one-on-one who I would never guard in a real game. Not a real thing, but, and then you have, I thought of, what if you just did like a 2-on-2 tournament? Like, hey, here's the 24 All-Stars and the top, vote getters get to pick their teammate.
NBA
who you want
Jam
to be
style.
your teammate. So yeah. Have like, you can't actually, get on fire because that's dangerous.
that is dangerous.
But you maybe have on fire spots, right? Like, or something. Yeah, or like I don't know. And then somebody's like, "Why not put a trampoline out there?" And then the next thing you know, we're playing slam ball, and we've completely lost the script. But
there would be some insurance concerns at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't know how to make. I don't know how to make the players care, which that's going to make the fans care. So might as well do East versus West again and go like it. I remember caring about this so much when I was a kid, and my dad and uncles were like, why do you care so much? And I was like, because we have to prove the East is better than the West. And it's like, that proves absolutely nothing.
There's players now who, when they get selected, are like they'll say, oh, it's an honor and all that kind of stuff. But really they're thinking, well, now I can't take my family on that vacation. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
hoping to not make it. So like, especially the guys that are like truly established in the league and they're not worried about their spot or anything like that. Like they want to use that week to go get out of town for a little bit, spend some time with their family and rest up. And so if that's going to be the case where guys would prefer to not make it rather than make it, and again, not everybody feels that way, but there's a decent amount of players who are like, meh, if given the choice, they would pass on being an all-star so they could go spend time with family and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, I think the guys who are been there 10 times already, I think most of them would just as soon not go every once in a while. I don't think they want it to be like, I never want to go again. But I do think there is some like, I don't really care enough to do this. So I'm good. Yeah. Yeah, it's totally there. Because the funniest locker room of the year is the locker room the day before the All-Star break. Because you have some of the guys in there. Like I remember when Vooch made it the first time for the Magic, there's a bunch of guys who were like, hi, you have to go. Like, and they're like, well, and I think it was Evan Fournier is like, I'll text you from the beach. They want to say it was, I forget where it was, or somewhere cold.
Right. It's in Utah or it's in Minnesota or something like that. And you've got guys that are going to the Bahamas or going to Tahiti or something. Yeah.
And it's like the locker room where guys are like, we've both been in the locker room plenty. There are some guys who they purposely take as long as they can, hoping to wait out the media and like we're gonna leave, which to my recollection has never actually worked. But when you're in the locker room the day before All-Star, those dudes, if they're not going to All-Star, like they're like, let's talk right now. Like I've seen guys not even before they even they're like, you need me? Let's go. I'm not gonna say who it is. I've watched a player 2 years in a row leave a locker room in Orlando in his uniform, just throwing a sweatshirt over the top because he was headed directly to the airport. To go to a beach. So like, it's
I don't blame him.
It is what it is. Yeah, man. It's I don't know how you make people care, but it's keep working, I guess, at it, right? You'll find some solution eventually that but maybe that is what it is. Because I was into it the first year of the draft. Like I was like, all right, this is fun, and then I stopped caring about midway through the second quarter because I was like, all right, now it's just a bunch of dunks and 3-pointers and cool. All right, nobody get hurt. So
everybody playing the Olay style of defense. All right, well, the All-Star game, it is back to what it once was, East versus West.
And the blood rivalry is back on.
Right. Well, in any event, hopefully this does breathe some new life into the All-Star game. It's funny to me that the way to reinvigorate the All-Star game is to go back to what it used to be, to not innovate, instead go back to what we did before. But again, maybe it just comes down to changing it every few years, and that creates interest. We'll see. But thank you everybody for watching the show. Make sure that you do subscribe to the YouTube channel. We certainly appreciate that. And hit that like button for us as well. Then over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, if you wouldn't mind following us there as well. Great way to support the show. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.